The shotgun blast shattered the night like God's own thunder, pellets ripping through the screen door just inches from my head as I bolted down the porch steps. "Get out, you filthy sinner. Don't you ever come back." Dad's voice cracked like the whip he'd used on the horses, raw with a hatred I'd never seen aimed at me before. Blood pounded in my ears, hot tears blurring the taillights of the old Ford as I peeled out of the driveway, leaving Willow Creek, and everything I knew, swallowed by the dust in my rearview. I was 17, fresh out of high school, and the secret I'd buried deeper than the town's ancient aquifer had just erupted like a geyser no one wanted to cap. It started with a kiss. One stolen, desperate kiss behind the bleachers at the county fair. Carson's lips tasting like cotton candy and forbidden fire. He was the golden boy, quarterback, valedictorian, the kid every parent dreamed their daughter would marry. I was just Justin, the quiet farmhand's son who fixed tractors and dreamed in silence. But that night, under the Ferris wheel's glow, we'd crossed the line we'd both towed for years. Whispers turned to shouts by morning. Someone saw, someone snitched, and by sundown, the whole town knew. Dad didn't wait for the church elders to convene. He waited for me at the kitchen table, Bible open to Leviticus, his face carved from the same granite as the Rockies. Mom stood behind him, wringing her apron like it could squeeze out the shame. "We raised you better," he'd growled, but his eyes, those eyes that used to light up at my little league home runs, were dead, emptied. When I tried to explain, stammering about love, not sin, he grabbed the shotgun from the rack. "Not to kill me," he said later in a slurred voicemail I deleted without listening. "Just to make a point." I drove west on Route 60's forgotten stretch, the Oklahoma panhandle blurring into Texas dust bowls. My '92 Chevy sputtering like it sensed my breaking heart. $300 in my wallet, a duffel of clothes, and a geology textbook I'd swiped from the school library. The one class where I excelled, mapping underground rivers like they were veins in the Earth's body. Water had always fascinated me. Willow Creek sat on one of the Ogallala Aquifer's fringes, that massive underground sea feeding half the Midwest. But fascination doesn't pay for gas, and by Amarillo, I was sleeping in the car, scavenging diner scraps, wondering if freedom tasted this much like regret. Carson called once, 2 days in. His voice was a ghost on the line, picked up at a truck stop payphone. "Justin? God, man, I'm sorry. They cornered me after practice. Coach, the sheriff, said if I didn't deny it, I'd lose everything. Scholarship, future, all of it." I could hear the tears he wouldn't let fall, the same ones I'd wiped from his cheeks that night at the fair. I told them it was nothing, a joke. But I swear save it. I cut him off, my voice steel over shattering glass. "You chose your team, Carson. I'm playing solo now." I hung up before he could beg, before I could forgive. Betrayal stung worse than the shotgun's echo. A knife twist in the gut that said love in a place like Willow Creek was just another drought waiting to crack the soil. I washed up in Lubbock, crashing on a cousin's couch until he got tired of my moping. That's when I enrolled at Texas Tech, community college first, scraping scholarships like a miner panning for gold. Geology called to me stronger than ever. Those hidden flows, untapped reserves, the quiet power beneath the surface. By 20, I had an associate's degree and a job surveying oil fields, but water was my North Star. "You're a wizard with aquifers," my professor said, clapping my shoulder after I mapped a depleted well for a rancher. Wizard felt like a curse word in my mouth, but it stuck. Nights were harder. I'd lie awake in my shoebox apartment, the fan whirring against the Texas heat, replaying Carson's laugh, the way his hand fit mine like it was carved from the same clay. I dated a barista with tattoos like road maps, a drifter who smelled of sage, but none stuck. They saw the quiet kid from the sticks, not the storm inside. Letters from Mom came sporadic, postmarked with prayers and grocery money she hid from Dad. "He's sorry," she'd write. "The town's changing. Droughts hitting hard." Willow Creek's rains had faltered years ago, but this summer, whispers of emergency rations filtered through. I crumpled them unread. Then, the call came from an old high school buddy, Tommy, who hadn't joined the witch hunt. "Justin, it's bad. Well's dry as bone. Folks lining up at tankers, fighting over the last drops. Mayors talking relocation. His voice shook. The boy who'd shared smokes behind the barn, now a father of 3 rationing baths. They remember you, man. That project you did senior year mapping the old springs. Said there was an untapped branch under the ridge. If it's real. I laughed, bitter as mesquite. They remember me as the queer kid who ruined prom night rumors. Why call now? But the hook was set. Willow Creek, population 1,200, was my scar tissue. The place that birthed and banished me. And water? It was life, the one thing even hatred couldn't ration. I hung up and stared at the ceiling cracks, spiderwebbing like fault lines. Carson's face flickered unbidden. Older now, I imagined, with laugh lines from college games won. A life unlived with me. What if? The question gnawed, a worm in the apple. By dawn, I'd booked a flight to Tulsa, rented a truck, and packed my seismic gear. Not for them. For me. To prove the ground could hold more than grudges. The drive back was a time warp, asphalt unspooling like old film reels. Rusted silos, faded billboards preaching salvation. The endless flatness that bred men like Dad hard, unyielding, cracked by their own thirst. Willow Creek appeared like a mirage, shrunken under a merciless sun. Dust devils danced in empty lots where kids once played kickball. The water tower loomed skeletal, its proud home of the Creekers, slogan peeling like scabbed skin. I checked into the motel on the edge of town, the one with the neon vacancy sign flickering like a dying pulse. Mrs. Hargrove at the desk didn't blink at my return. Her eyes just darted, guilty. Heard you were comin'. Town's grateful. Grateful. The word tasted like ash. First stop. The ridge, that limestone outcrop I'd sketched in my notebook at 16, dreaming of USVS glory instead of stolen kisses. I parked the truck, unfolded my tripod, and let the ground talk. Probes hummed, data scrolled. Echoes of buried rivers, faint but insistent. There it was, a fork in the aquifer, diverted by a fault line no one mapped. Untapped, pure, enough to quench the whole damn county if we drilled right. Dusk fell as I hiked back, sweat-soaked and triumphant, when headlights pinned me like a suspect. The truck idled. Then the door swung open. Carson stepped out, taller somehow, his frame filled out by years and whatever God's favored quarterbacks. Jeans faded, flannel unbuttoned at the collar, that same tousled blonde hair catching the last light. His eyes, blue as the creek before it ran dry, locked on mine, and the world narrowed to the space between us. Justin. My name was a prayer and a plea. He hadn't aged out of handsome. If anything, time had etched a quiet hunger into his features, like a man who'd tasted freedom and found it brackish. I crossed my arms, the seismic reader heavy in my pack. Heard the heroes back. Coach send you to scout the enemy? He winced, stepping closer, gravel crunching under his boots. No enemy, just me. Tommy told me you were here. Said you're the one who can fix this. His hand twitched like it remembered the shape of mine, but he shoved it in his pocket. I coach now. High school team. Stayed because, well, roots. Roots. The word hung, thorny. Must be nice, Carson. Planting where they want you. He swallowed, Adam's apple bobbing. It ain't. Not after what I did. I replay that night every damn day, the fair, you, us. I was a coward. Dad threatened to pull my scholarship, the town. They called me names too, in whispers. But I let them. For what? A degree in business I don't use. A life that's half-lived. The air thickened, cicadas humming a dirge. I wanted to hate him, to drive the knife deeper. But his voice cracked on half-lived. And suddenly we were 17 again, hearts pounding in sync. Why now? I whispered, the ridge's shadow swallowing us. Because you're here. And maybe I never stopped loving you. The words landed soft as rain on parched earth. Impossible and inevitable. We didn't kiss, not then. Too much dust between us. But he walked me to my truck, our shoulders brushing, and for the first time in years, the ache in my chest felt like space for something new. Not just scar. Word spread like prairie fire. By morning, the mayor's office buzzed with calls. Elders who'd once quoted scripture at my expulsion, now quoting my data points. Boys got the gift, Pastor Hale muttered over coffee at the diner, his Bible tucked under arm like a truce flag. Dad stayed silent, holed up on the farm. But Mom slipped a note under my motel door. Proud. Finally. Carson showed up daily, hauling gear, mapping with me under the relentless sun. Our hands brushed over charts, lingered a beat too long. Stories spilled, his lonely nights, my city heartbreaks. You were always the brave one, he said one evening, as we watched the sun bleed orange over the ridge. I just followed. Brave. It chafed, but in his eyes it shone. Tension built, not just in the earth but between us. Stolen glances, a hug after a breakthrough reading that pressed too close, too real. The town watched, tongues wagging less with venom now, more with wary hope. Drought did that, stripped illusions, left only survival. But betrayal lurks in fault lines. 2 weeks in, as drills hummed and test bores struck wet promise, I found the memo in the town hall files, slipped from Carson's desk while he fetched coffee. Confidential. Redirect funds from Ridge Project to East Fields. Private investor, C. Hale, benefits. Pastor Hale's son, Carson's brother-in-law, married to his sister. A land grab, siphoning the water for corporate farms, leaving the town high and dry again. Carson's signature looped at the bottom, bold as his game-winning throws. My world tilted, seismic. Him? After the confessions, the touches that promised redemption? I confronted him at the football field, twilight practice winding down, boys scattering like startled deer. You sold us out. I hurled the paper at his chest, voice raw. For what? Family favor? To keep the golden boy clean. His face drained white, then flushed fury. It's not Justin, listen. They cornered me again. Said if I didn't sign, they'd expose everything. The kiss, us, ruin my coaching gig, the team. I was buying time to tell you to fight it. Lies. I spat the word a bullet. Same as before. You choose them every time. He grabbed my arm, desperate. No. This time I choose you. I swear it. Tears tracked dirt-streaked cheeks, the quarterback undone. But trust, once cracked, floods out. I yanked free, storming to the ridge alone that night. The drill site a ghost town under stars. Rain came sudden. A monsoon burst mocking our aridity. Ironic, cruel. I sat on the outcrop, soaked, letting sobs mix with the downpour. Why did love always demand I drown first? Dawn broke with sirens. The Eastfield pipe had burst, sabotage, they said later, flooding investor plots but alerting the scheme. Carson's doing? Or his family's panic? He burst into the motel at first light, drenched, eyes wild. I did it. Confessed everything to the mayor. Turned state's evidence. They're arresting Hale tonight. I stared, the paper crumpled in my fist. Why? Because losing you again? That's the real drought. He stepped close, tentative, and this time I didn't pull away. His lips met mine, rain-sweet, a seal on fragile peace. Not fireworks, but embers warm, enduring. The climax hit 2 days later, as the town council gathered in the sweltering gym, air thick with sweat and suspicion. Dad was there, front row, face a thunderhead. Whispers accused me, the outsider, the gay kid returning to ruin them. Carson stood beside me, hand brushing mine under the table. A silent vow. You think we're fools? Mayor Ellis barked, waving the leaked memo. This here's betrayal plain. And you, Justin, back after all this time, stirring pots. My heart hammered, but I rose, voice steady as bedrock. Not stirring, saving. Look. I unrolled the seismic map on the projector, lines glowing like veins of gold. The ridge fork, 500 gallons per minute, sustainable. Enough for homes, farms, the school. But only if we drill now, before greed chokes it. Murmurs rippled. Dad's eyes narrowed, then widened recognition, perhaps, of the boy he'd raised. Carson squeezed my hand, visible now, defiant. Pastor Hale lunged, red-faced. "This is God's judgment. Drought for your sins, boy. And you," he jabbed at Carson, "dragging us into Sodom." Chaos erupted, shouts, chairs scraping. Carson shoved between us, shielding. "Enough." Justin's the only one seeing clear. "We sign his plan or we wither. Your choice." A scuffle broke, hail swinging wild, connecting with Carson's jaw. Blood sprayed, and something primal snapped in me. I tackled the pastor, fists flying in a blur of rage and release. Years of exile pouring out. Security hauled us apart, but the gym fell silent, eyes on Dad, who rose slow, deliberate. He crossed the floor, the man who'd loaded the shotgun now loading words. "My son," he rasped, voice breaking the dam. "I was wrong, scared. But he's right. We drill." The vote passed 8-2, hail storming out in handcuffs. Water flowed 3 weeks later, gushing clear and cold from the ridge, baptizing fields in green. The town wept, literally. Buckets collected for the headlines. "Prodigal son saves creek." Carson and I, we didn't ride into sunset. Healing's no fairy tale. Dad's hug came stiff, laced with "I'm tryin'," and apologies from elders tasted of necessity. But Carson moved into my motel room. Our nights tangled in whispers, not passion. Stories shared, futures sketched. "Marry me?" he asked one dawn. Ring from his grandma's attic, simple gold band. "Not yet," I said, kissing his knuckles. "But stay. Build with me." He did. Willow Creek didn't wave rainbow flags overnight, but the Wells plaque read, "To Justin, for seeing what others buried." Humanistic, yeah, flawed folks fumbling toward grace, one drop at a time. And me? I stayed, mapping more than water. Roots, finally, in soil that remembered how to forgive. The first rains in years fell soft that autumn, turning the ridge into a watercolor of mud and wildflowers, as if the earth itself was exhaling relief. Carson and I walked it often, his arms slung casual over my shoulders when no one watched, a quiet claim on the life we'd clawed back. Town folk nodded now, wary at first, then warmer, like the water easing their bones. Mrs. Hargrove comped our motel coffee. Even Coach Ellis grunted approval during pickup games, tossing me the ball with a "not bad, kid." Not bad. It was a start. But scars run deep as aquifers, and mine pulsed with every sidelong glance, every whispered "fairy" from a truck passing slow. Carson felt it too. His jaw still bruised from Hale's swing, a purple bloom fading to yellow. "They'll come around," he'd say, tracing the map of my palm with his thumb. "Or we make 'em." Optimism was his superpower, the same spark that lit touchdowns and, once, our hidden world. Mom bridged the gaps, her kitchen a neutral zone. Pies baked with extra crust, apologies baked in. "Your father. He's praying on it," she'd murmur, eyes darting to the window where Dad tinkered with the tractor, back turned. The first dinner invite came mid-October, harvest moon fat as a pumpkin pie. I almost bailed, visions of shotguns dancing like sugar plums, but Carson laced our fingers under the table that morning. "We're in this, Justin. All the way." The farmhouse hadn't changed. Creaky porch swing, quilt on the rack, the faint scent of pipe tobacco and regret. Dad met us at the door, flannel crisp, hand extended stiff as rebar. "Evenin'. No sun. But no thunder either." Carson got a nod. "Heard you turned out all right." And we sat to pot roast, silverware clinking like nervous Morse code. Talk skirted the edges. Weather, blessed wet. The team's 4-2 record. My fancy surveys paying dividends for the county. Then Mom, bless her, nudged the bowl. "Justin saved us, you know, like Joseph in the Bible, dreams of plenty in famine." Dad's fork paused, knuckles white. "Ain't no famine now." Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Carson, ever the playmaker, leaned in. "Sir, with respect, Justin saw what we couldn't. Gave us a future. That's more than most." Eyes met. Dad's storm gray to Carson's steady blue. "Future, huh? Town's buzzin' 'bout you too. Pastor's boy in jail stirrin' up questions." The word hung, laced with old venom. I braced, heart drilling faster than the rigs. Questions like why a man loves who he loves, or why it took a drought to see past it. Dad's jaw worked, tobacco chew shifting like unspoken sins. Then, slow as sunrise, lost a boy once. Thought I was savon him. Near killed us both. He pushed back, chair scraping. Ain't saying it's easy, but water flows where it will. Reckon love might too. He clapped my shoulder, brief, seismic, and retreated to the barn. We exhaled in unison. Carson's grin split wide. Touchdown. Not quite. Whispers grew thorns as winter bit. Graffiti on the water tower. Fags fixed it. Tires slashed on my truck. Hale's cronies, out on bail, fanned flames from the bar stools. Carson shielded me, confronting one after drills. Touch him, you touch the whole team. But tension coiled, a spring under pressure. My breaking point came mid-December, carols mocking from the square as I fetched supplies. A pickup swerved close, beer cans hurled like accusations. One clipped my temple, warm trickle down my cheek. I spun, fists clenched, but Carson was there, barreling from the gym, tackling the driver into the snowbank. Enough! He roared, snow muffling the scuffle. Sheriff hauled them apart, but the damage etched. We weren't heroes, just targets. That night, fire crackling in our motel hearth. A space heater. Really? Carson paced, ice pack blooming purple on his eye. This ain't right. We saved 'em. Water in their taps, green in their fields, and they spit back. I pulled him down, our knees knocking like old times. Drought's over, but fear's eternal. We knew that. My fingers combed his hair, salt-stiff from sweat and strife. Question is, do we fight or fold? He turned, eyes fierce. Fight. With you. His mouth found mine, slow and searching. Not the frantic youth of fairs past, but a deepening, like roots probing stone. We talked till dawn. Plans for a hydro co-op, Carson coaching inclusivity drills, me lecturing at the school on Earth's hidden graces. Love, we decided, wasn't surrender. It was strategy. Spring thawed more than frost. The ridge well stabilized, pipes snaking to every doorstep, and with water came tentative blooms. A pride sticker on the diner's window, peeled by morning, but tried. Kids asking me for rock hunting tips without sneers. Dad showed up unannounced one Saturday, tools in hand. Barn needs fixin'. Extra hands. Carson jumped in, and by dusk, we'd rebuilt a stall, sweat mingling with laughter over bent nails. Missed this, Dad grunted, wiping brow. Buildin' something solid. I nodded, hammer pausing. Me too, but solid don't mean unchanged. He eyed Carson, passing a wrench. See that? Boys got grit. Progress inch by inch. Yet betrayal's echo lingered. Hale's trial loomed summer. Dredging dirt. Witness statements twisting Carson's confession into complicity. Painting me the vengeful outsider. Anonymous letters piled in my P.O. box. Go back to the city queer. And sleep evaded. Nightmares of dry beds and shotgun blasts. Carson anchored me, his presence a counterweight. We'd drive the back roads. Radio crooning Johnny Cash laments, his head on my shoulder. Remember the creek? Summer '08, skipping stones till dark. Best stones? I murmured. Worst lies, but forgiveness crept, vine-like. The trial hit like a nor'easter, July heat wave mirroring the courtroom's boil. Hale, silver-haired and sanctimonious, spun yarns of moral decay, sparked by my return. That boy's agenda, water for wickedness. Jurors shifted, townies among them, faces familiar from potlucks and pews. Carson testified first, voice steady on the stand. I signed that memo out of fear, same as I denied Justin years back. But fear don't justify greed. He saved us, not for payback, but because it's right. His gaze held mine across the aisle, a lifeline. My turn came, palms slick on the Bible, irony noted. I came back for the town that raised me, flaws and all. Mapped the aquifer senior year, knew its secrets. Drought don't discriminate. Hits farms, families, same as hate hits hearts. I detailed the data, the fork's flow rates, but wove in the human. Water connects us. So should grace. Dad's testimony sealed it. Unexpected, earth-shaking. He shuffled up, hat in hands. Raised a good boy. Lost him to my pride. When the creek ran dry, I saw clear. Sin's in the withholden, not the lovin'. Justin's my son. Always. Voice gravel but eyes wet. Public penance. Raw as rain. Jury deliberated 2 hours. Guilty on fraud, 5 years. As Hale was let out, he spat at me. You'll burn. But the courtroom erupted in claps. Not all, but enough. Enough. Outside, under cottonwoods shedding like confetti. Carson crushed me in a hug, Dad hovering awkward. Prou son. The word landed. Full. Summer waned with festivals reborn. Creekside barbecues, bands thumping country anthems. Carson and I danced slow under string lights, his chin on my crown, world fading to our rhythm. Future's lookin' wet, he joked, breath warm. Yeah, I replied, heart full. And ours. But humanism's no tidy bow. Dad relapsed once, post-trial, Bible thumping over dinner about strugglin'. We walked out, Carson's hand iron in mine. Time, Mom whispered later. Rivers carve canyons slow. We expanded the co-op, me consulting statewide, Carson mentoring at-risk kids, queer ones too, in quiet corners. Willow Creek didn't transform overnight. A few families left, citing changes, but new ones trickled in, families like the Garcias, with 2 dads and a toddler chasing fireflies. One evening, ridge overlook, sunset painting the aquifer's gift in gold. Carson knelt again. No pressure. But yeah, marry me? Make this official, queer and all. Laughter bubbled. Free. Yes, but vows by the well, where it started. He rose, kissing me deep, promise sealed. Not perfect, our story. Betrayals scar, conflicts carve. But in the flow, we found grace. Water for the town, love for us, human, messy, alive. Years folded like accordions, seasons cycling from dusk to deluge. Willow Creek swelling to 1,500 souls. Drawn by the well's whisper, the town's tentative reinvention. Carson and I married at the Ridge, summer solstice 28. Under a canopy of wild sunflowers, 50 guests including Dad, Stoic, Teary, and a rainbow contingent from Tulsa's Pride March. Vows exchanged over the borehole's hum. In abundance and aridity, I choose you. Rings glinted, simple as aquifers, eternal, unseen till tapped. Life layered on, co-op boomed, my surveys greening ranches from Kansas to Colorado. Carson's team snagged state semis. His sideline cheers now laced with love ya, man, to the benchwarmers who'd come out. We bought the old Hale place, irony's bite, renovated into a home with a porch swing creaking lullabies. No kids yet. Adoption talk simmered, but for now it was us. Nights with takeout and trail mix, mapping dreams over Merlot. Dad softened gradual, like limestone to rain. Grandkids? No, but he mentored my apprentices. Gruff tales of the big dry warning against waste. Your boy's got the sight, he'd tell them, pride cracking his voice. Mom knit booties anyway, hopeful. Carson bonded over fishing, the 2 trading barbs like pros. Stubborn as mules. I'd tease, but my chest swelled, family reforged. Conflict never fully dries up, though. Winter 30 brought whispers of corporate buyouts. Agri-giants eyeing the aquifer. Same greed Hale peddled. Board meetings turned battlegrounds. Suits in the diner sneering. Small town sentiment. Carson fired up petitions. I crunched projections. Diversion meant depletion in decades. Fight smart, I urged, but tension frayed us. Late nights arguing tactics, his fire to my caution. The betrayal gut punch came from within. Tommy, my old smoke buddy, now co-op treasurer. Emails leaked, him skimming funds for a side venture. Pitching our data to the core. Just business, he claimed when cornered in the office, face pale as overgrazed pasture. Town needs growth. You too, you're holding us back with your lifestyle. The word sliced, old wounds reopening. Carson wanted to throttle him. I went cold, compiling evidence like seismic logs. Not again, I whispered that night, curled on the couch, Carson's arms my levy. Why's it always us? He held tighter. Because they fear what flows free. But we don't break. Trial 2, smaller scale, embezzlement, community court. Tommy's defense, pressure from the dry years. But our testimonials stacked. Elders crediting the co-op's equity. Kids who'd thrived on sponsored teams. I took the stand last. Water's not just H2O, it's trust. Tommy broke that. We rebuild it, drop by drop. Judge, a newcomer, queer ally from the city, sentenced probation, restitution. Tommy slunk away, town shunning soft. But the scare galvanized. Bylaws tightened, Carson elected chair. Our home a hub for strategy sessions. Climax crested that fall, harvest festival under harvest moon. The Corps sent reps, slick as oil, promising progress with a buyout gala. Tents on the square, champagne toasts to modernization. Whispers tempted jobs, upgrades. Dad cornered me by the hay bales, breath beery. They say it's the way. Bigger's better. I met his gaze steady. Bigger drowned the creek once. Remember? He nodded, slow. Reckon so. Turned to the suits. Voice booming. Ain't sellin'. This here's ours. Fought for. Flowed for. Crowd murmured. Then roared. Farmers. Families. The Garcias hoisting signs. Keep it local. Carson leaped on stage. Mic in hand. Willow Creek ain't for sale. We've got water, heart, and each other. He yanked me up, arm around waist, public as prayer. That's our power. Cheers drowned the reps, who folded tents by midnight. Aftermath bloomed humanistic. Corps retreated. Co-op charter amended for protections. LGBTQ plus clause. Explicit. Dad walked me down Main Street next Pride. Small, but ours. Rainbow pin on his lapel. For you, son. Mom baked the cake. Yet romance deepened in quiet currents. Anniversaries at the Ridge. Picnics with Carson's guitar strumming folk tunes. Dylan, of course. The times they are a-changin'. We'd lie in the grass, his head on my chest, heartbeat sinking to the earth's pulse. Still love you, he'd murmur, fingers tracing my wedding band. More, I'd reply, kissing his temple. Like rivers to sea. Betrayal's lessons lingered. Trust earned, not assumed. Tommy wrote once, from Denver, sorry, saw clear too late. We didn't reply, but no hate, just space. By 35, adoption cleared. Little Eli, 5, brown curls and questions endless. Why's the ground drink? He'd ask, poking the yard. Carson scooped him. So we don't have to, buddy. Dad doted, teaching knots. Mom sewed quilts. Family expanded, flawed, flowing. One dusk, ridgeside with Eli chasing fireflies, Carson pulled me aside. 10 years. Feels like yesterday's kiss. Feels like forever start. We kissed, soft, Eli giggling oblivious. Willow Creek thrived, green fields, full reservoirs, stories of the gay geologist in schoolbooks. Not utopia. Prejudices persist, droughts threaten. But in the flow loves, life's we endure. Kicked out once, but homes where the water runs deep. And ours? It runs eternal.